All right, so we're going to talk about where to get a good setback distance for a setback scan. Usually when we're doing a scan of a seam weld, we're doing side-to-side scans, and we usually want to do at least two scans. One where we're butt up very close to the weld, as close as we can get it, and then another one where we're back. We call it the setback scan. If the weld was out here, we'd want to be back a half skip distance to get our 70 looking at the ID. So what's a good setback distance? Well, this is from earlier when we talked about setting up a 70 degree. The length of leg 1 for a 70 on a 1-inch thick material would be 2.924. So we use that for our screen range to get a 1-inch deep screen with the 70 shear and with fast, which is also a 70. We could use the trig and show that for a 1-inch thick material, the surface distance would be 2.75. That's just the trig. That's where the number comes from, 2.75. Let's see. Let's try this. Let's do a sketch of this. If we can get this to stay. All right, so we have our material. Let's say it was 1 inch thick. And we have a 70. And let's say our weld was out here. So we usually want to shoot for that setback scan to be shooting at the root of the weld. And this is 70. And that would be 2.924 if the material was 1 inch thick. And our surface distance would be 2.75 inches if it was 1 inch thick. So if our material, we're going to use this number to figure out what our setback distance should be for any thickness. And it's just the thickness times 2.75. An example of that would be material that was a 1/2 inch thick. You know, now this is our material here. Here's our 70. This is a 1/2 inch thick. So this distance is going to be half of 2.75. 2.75 times 0.5 is 1.375. All right, so if our material was a 1/2 inch thick, we'd have a good setback distance here to here if we used about 1.4 inches. Similar triangles. All right, if our material was 1/4 inch thick, then now this is our triangle over here. This is 1/4 inch thick right here. This is our 70 degree. And our setback distance would be half of that. It would be about 1.2 inches. That would be a good setback distance, a good place to put the probe to get a scan for fast. Another thing that comes up in this general subject is material thickness versus weld thickness. Which one do you use to figure out your setback distance? Let's say I'm going to exaggerate this example, but not too much. Let's say you had a flash weld. You know, this is the aiming point at the root for your setback scan. And let's say you had 1/4 inch thick material and your weld caps inside and outside were 1/8 inch. That would make your weld thickness 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/4 is a 1/2 inch. So what should you base your setback distance on? The thickness of the single wall thickness, 1/4 inch, or the thickness of the weld? It should be the 1/4 inch, because you want to be shooting for here. This is your triangle now. If you shot for a 1/2 inch deep, you'd be shooting, well, you'd have to be, yeah, for a 1/2 inch deep, that would be down here. You'd have to be twice as far back to shoot for that. This comes up all the time anyway. You want to use your material thickness, not your weld thickness, because these have nothing to do with the aiming point. Hope that helped. Thanks.